Good evening, all you football heads. Thanks for joining us. This is the Raider Report. I'm DeMarco Moore.
I'm Martin E. Sanders. DeMarco, you smell that in the air, man?
I smell it, man.
I believe that's football season.
It's football season. We back,
okay.
man. We back.
So Saturday, the MTSU Blue Raiders took the field against Alabama, and Coach Nick Saban said some great things about the offense and said that it reminded him of somewhat Ole Miss or an Auburn style of play. So you know what? Let's go into these highlights and see how it went down for our Blue Raiders.
MTSU moved the ball well in the first half against the Tide.
So after the turnover, after MTSU was going for a turnover, Robert Foster takes a 19-yard screen pass to the house. Alabama up 7-0. A few plays later, Stockhill pass to Christian Collis. Oh, what a nice one-handed grab. A few plays later, Stockhill again, down the seam to Richie James down at the 1-yard line, but MTSU fumbles the ball. Next play, Kenyon Drake on the speed sweep, going down the sideline, breaking tackles. He got a whole lot of green grass in front of him. Takes it all the way down to the 1-yard line. He gets up like, oh man, I could have scored on that play. But it's okay, Kenyon. It is okay because you got a guy in Derrick Henry. And the next play, he punches it in and scores and takes it to the house. Now Bama is up 21-3 late in the second quarter. As you see here, Coker throws it up in the double coverage, and Kevin Breyer gets an interception, but it's down at the 1. Safety. Kenyon Drake comes back again, breaking tackles. Again, another touchdown for Bama, up 30-3. But there are some good points in the game. As you see, Jeremy Cutler picks off Cooper Bateman and takes it all the way down into Alabama's territory. That breathes some excitement into the sideline, even though the game was kind of pretty much over. But now, you know, the guys are just playing for pride. And backup quarterback Austin Grammer comes in, does what he does, drop back, scrambles to his left, sees an open Rod Ducksworth in the end zone to make the score a little bit more reasonable. 37-10, Alabama takes care of MTSU. DeMarco, what was your thoughts on the game?
Well, I thought the MTSU they definitely coming in and knowing that the line was at 35.5, they were huge underdogs. I thought they came out with great pride. I thought the defense came out and did their thing. I thought here's some encouraging stats to think about. Versus Wisconsin, Alabama had 238 yards rushing. Versus MTSU, Alabama only had 231 yards rushing. So that's one encouraging thing to say. And another thing is Wisconsin forced no turnovers against Alabama, whereas the Blue Raiders forced 2 turnovers against Alabama and forced them into 30% conversion rate on third down at 4 out of 13. So if you look at it, the defense was the key to the game, but the turnovers will always get you. That's the biggest thing. And Alabama was +2 in the turnover marks. MTSU had three fumbles and an interception. So,
well, you know what? Let's go into the interview with Coach Stockhill and see what him and some of the players had to say about the game.
We didn't play especially smart early the first half. You know, if I told our team if we were playing tennis, you'd have 3 unforced errors. You know, we fumbled the ball on the first play of the game. We fumbled the ball on the first play of the half. We get a little over anxious down there on the goal line, and we rush ourselves. Shane goes up before, a little too quick. We turn the ball over down there. We miss a field goal. We had several penalties that called some bigger plays back, and we had a lot of drops. I bet we had 4 or 5 drops on third down that stalled drives. I thought defensively we competed extremely well. I thought our guys fought, and give Alabama credit. Coach Saban and his staff got an excellent football team. Number 2 team in the nation. You can't come to their place and do the things that we did today and have a chance to win. But I'm just talking about my team, our team, I'm really, really proud of our efforts.
I mean, I definitely feel like we definitely played a great first half. We stopped, we had a couple 3 and outs, got a couple turnovers. I actually seen Jeremy take the interception towards the end of the game, so I'm just proud of our effort and how we fought. And I feel like it's just a good stepping stone we're going to take into the next game for our first conference game.
We had a few unfortunate breaks, but from coach's standpoint, I thought we had a hell of a plan. I thought came out early, we executed, we drove the ball, just got down the red zone, kind of stalled out a little bit. But, we'll fix that and we'll get back to work tomorrow.
Kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and we had to, play catch up a little bit. So, that's why we kind of evolved from the run game. But overall, I feel like we ran the ball pretty good, and we just got to, continue to get better.
Out of conference game, a game in which you're undermatched.
Right.
But what are some positives that you take away from this?
Well, DeMarco, the best positive that you can really take out of this is how well your defense played against basically the best team in the SEC, the number 2 team in the nation. For you to hold them under 50% on third down conversions, that's pretty well. For the most part, they kept Derrick Henry in check. He only had 96 yards. He was under 100 yards. He just scored 3 touchdowns, and it was mainly because off of our turnovers that helped them. They started with great field position. They never really had to drive, and when they did try to drive, we pretty much stopped them with our defense. Another positive is the offensive line. They gave up no sacks as far as pass protection. So Brent Stockstill with over 200 yards, no touchdowns, but it was good to keep him up on his feet. I say a negative maybe that was the running game or lack thereof. It's not a good thing when our quarterback is our leading rusher, when we have a good group core of running backs who can definitely move the ball down the field, get in the end zone, get positive yardage. So I guess the best thing about this was that we came out clean, no injuries, so we're good for conference play, and this should give them a good morale going into the rest of the season, because now you kind of taking your biggest shot, your biggest test, and you pretty much did pretty well for yourselves despite being a 5-touchdown underdog. You did pretty well for yourselves. All righty then. So now, lots of other action happened in the Conference USA this past week, and it happened down in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Let's take it on up into the highlights with Jeff Driscoll and Louisiana Tech against WKU. Brandon Daughtry drops back to pass, and he throws a bomb to Taiwan Taylor, 37 yards. And the Hilltoppers go up 7-0. Second quarter, WKU up 14-3 on the kickoff. Colin Towner goes down the field, 98 yards to the house. The crowd is loving it, and WKU goes up 21-3. But Jeff Driscoll and the Bulldogs would not go down without a fight. Driscoll drops back, fakes it to the running back, and finds Trent Taylor down the seam, and the Bulldogs close the gap 21-10. Second half now, Louisiana Tech only down by 10. Driscoll hands it off to Kenneth Dixon. A good hold through the middle, running down all the way down, and gets tackled until about the 10-yard line. A couple of plays later, Driscoll hands it off to Dixon again as he finished the drive. Now it's only 27-24 WKU. The fourth quarter now, Bulldogs down 10 again. The shotgun snap is bad, and Driscoll just heaves it up to a wide open Paul Turner. Now the score is only 41-38 WKU. You know what time it is now, guys. Onside kick. And Louisiana Tech, the kick goes out of bounds, and coaches, oh my gosh. And WKU pulls off a thriller. Florida Atlantic fell short in the game that they competed very well with the Miami Hurricanes. Next week, Charlotte will be coming here to Murfreesboro at good old Floyd Stadium after a convincing win over Presbyterian. Down the list a little further, North Texas beat SMU convincingly. And finally, Rice put up 28 points against the Longhorns, but it was not enough. Okay, guys, still ahead on the Raider Report. MTSU pays tribute to a former coach on October the 3rd. There after the break.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
Welcome back to the Raider Report. I'm Marthany Sanders. Well, homecoming is October the 3rd this year, and the Raiders have something very special to present. MTSU Athletics will honor James Boots Donnelly with a full-size statue that will appear on the front lawn of Kennan Sports Hall of Fame, building. Donnelly was a player on the football team in the early 60s and became head coach in 1979 and held the position for 20 years before resigning in 1998. The dedication is set for 3:30 p.m. October the 3rd. As the college football season begins, have you ever wondered why there are so many, quote, money games? Wes Jenkins has the story.
MTSU spent all last week practicing as they would for any other opponent, except this week is no ordinary week.
Alabama this week is a great challenge for us. It's a great opportunity to play against one of the storied programs in the history of college football.
With the new college football playoff, Power 5 conference teams are feeling more pressure to go undefeated now more than ever. So it is understandable why teams like Alabama was scheduled down because conference play is so difficult. But what about the other team? Coming into the game, Alabama was ranked number 2 in the country and 35-point favorites over the Blue Raiders. Coach Stockstill said that his team would prepare like it was any other opponent. I spoke with MTSU Athletic Director Chris Massero about the benefits of playing in these games.
We're excited to play Alabama. It presents a lot of challenges for us, but we're going to receive a bunch of publicity too by playing the number 2 ranked team in the country. So that's a big benefit. We do get $1.5 million for playing at Alabama, so that's a very hefty guarantee. And that money filters through every sport and every budget, helps every student athlete here.
These non-Power 5 conference teams can receive as high as $2 million or more to play in these games. So between the Alabama game and the Illinois game, MTSU football will have received more than $2.5 million off of these 2 games alone. The conference as a whole will receive around $10 million.
And we operate on about a $25 million budget, so it's a good percentage of the budget, but it's also not 50% of the budget, which some people tend to think. So, but it helps every student athlete. That money funnels into our general revenues, and it helps fund all of our sports. So every athlete benefits off of it. Every athlete and really every student at MTSU will benefit from this game.
Massero felt like the publicity would be even more valuable than the money itself.
Yeah, and I think that really you can't put a price tag on the publicity. You can't buy it because they don't sell it. So number 1, we're going to be on a national broadcast with the SEC network. Number 2, because it is Alabama and there's so much focus on the college football playoff that Alabama's results get talked about no matter what. So, and the games get analyzed nationally. So every radio talk show, every newspaper, every national college football show will be showing our highlights. We'll be featuring Middle Tennessee, Alabama game. So, and every newspaper in the country and every website in the country will also be doing that as well. So you can't buy that kind of publicity. I would be venture to guess to say this is the most publicized game that we've played in our school history to date.
Thanks, Wes. Welcome back to the Raider Report. As we all know, recruiting plays a pivotal part on whether how good or how bad your team might be in the upcoming season. For more on recruiting, I'm going to toss it over to Steven Johnson. Take it away, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Mark Anthony. MTSU's gone off to a slow start for the 2016 recruiting class. The recruiting class is only ranked 9th in Conference USA according to 247sports.com. But they have addressed one area well so far this recruiting season, and that's the wide receiver spot. They have 2 receivers committed. One's a 3-star and one's a 2-star. First up, we're going to take a look at C.J. Wyndham from Powder Springs, Georgia. C.J.'s 6'3", $180, and has legitimate 4.5 speed. Let's go to the video and see some of his strengths. The first thing that should stand out is his hands. He's big body, he knows how to catch the ball tough, and he can really make those tough catches in traffic. He lined up in the slot, he lines up on the outside, and his team really does a good job of making sure he's versatile in the offense. He has a depth, he's very skilled in screen game, and I think that's really what attracted MT to him. He's a guy you can toss it out to on the perimeter, he can break 2 or 3 tackles, and he can get yards after the catch. And he's a big body receiver with speed. And MT doesn't really have a receiver like that on their roster currently. And so I think he will fill in nicely right there. And I think he'll get early playing time. The second receiver is also from Georgia, 2-star recruit Jarrell Rowe. He's 6'4", but he's only 150 pounds, meaning he'll need to get in the weight room when he first gets on campus. Similar to Wyndham, Rowe's also adept in the screen game. He uses his long frame. He's also adept in return game. On his highlight tape, you'll see him returning a couple kicks and even punting into opponent territory. He's explosive, but he'll need to get in the weight program. He's not as adept in the middle of the field, and he's really explosive on the outside. He's the type of guy that I think the Blue Raiders will use in the red zone, especially for throwing them jump balls, throwing them fade routes, letting him get his possessions right there. The Blue Raiders also have Nick Bryant from Florida committed. He's a tight end prospect. The Blue Raiders will be replacing 3 senior wide receivers, so I'll be surprised if they take another wide receiver with 2 already filled in. But they do have a couple of options. Mainly, they'll probably go the JUCO route. We'll come back with you all next week for a report on some of the prospects they're looking at. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Still ahead here on the Raider Report. After unsuccessfully trying to take down Alabama and Tuscaloosa, the Blue Raiders head back to Murfreesboro as they get ready for a pivotal conference game matchup. And also what's going on around the conference.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
$7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks, more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
So, welcome back to the Raider Report. I'm DeMarco Moore. I have my buddy Wes Jenkins with me today, and we'll be breaking down the Blue Raiders' upcoming matchup versus the Charlotte 49ers. As you all know, the Charlotte 49ers, this is their first year in the Conference USA play, and they picked up a big win versus Georgia Southern last year. And what is your take on Charlotte, the 49ers, Wes?
They're definitely well motivated with this being their first year in the conference, or in FCS or FBS, that is. They're definitely well motivated. They play hard. Defense flies to the ball. They have several key players that definitely will make an impact in the game. They run the no huddle spread offense, but don't let that fool you because they have a power running game.
And speaking of their power running game, let's take a minute and talk about their power running back in Khalif Phillips. And we have some of their film up here from the Georgia Southern game.
You can see his he has a low center of balance. He has great body lean, and he just bounces off defenders.
Yeah, we see that right there with that tackle. If he wasn't brought down by his own player, it might have been a bigger gain.
In this spread offense, they bring in H-backs. They like to get bodies in front of Phillips. You can see that in this video. We're going to see 2 H-backs, and then the guard's going to pull around and gets 3 lead blockers in front of Phillips.
It's a very unique look, like a wing T/pistol look, and they just get bodies on bodies, like you said.
You can see he's a big running back too. You see the 2 H-backs on the left side. They can use that also as a counter to make the defense roll that way. Also, here it is again, pulling guard.
And they had that read option since too, so it freezes the outside linebacker too and gives you an extra,
here comes the read option
one
out
less
of it right now.
blocker.
They'll take the read option, turn it into a pass. They do all kinds of things with that. And then once the defense starts cramming inside, they'll hit you with a lot of out routes, slant routes. They rarely go down the field though.
It seemed like a very conservative passing game with just short routes. As we take a look at the defense right now.
They, like I said, they fly to the ball. They force turnovers. Terrence Winchester, one of their defensive backs, forced 2 turnovers against Georgia State. Here's an example where they bring a lot of pressure. They'll blitz safeties. They'll blitz cornerbacks. Here's Winchester's interception right here.
And they seem like a very opportunistic defense and an aggressive defense that at times will give up the big play, but they're not afraid to go for it. As we look at here, see Terrence Winchester flying to the ball once again.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough opponent for MTSU, a challenging one. But as fast as their defense is playing, they still hopefully will look like they're playing in slow motion compared to the Crimson Tide that MTSU played against last week. After the break, we're going to talk a little national college football. So stay with us, and we'll be back in just a minute.
It's the Raider Report.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Brush, brushy, brush, brushy, brush, brush your teeth. Every day and every night. Now it's your parents' turn. Here's what you gotta do. If you have your toothbrush and I take it, brushy, brush your teeth. Good job, you're almost done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Help your teeth stay healthy. Brushy brush with a grown-up every day.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making Home Affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
All right, welcome back to the Raider Report. I'm Marthany Sanders. Here with me is DeMarco Moore and Steven Johnson. And now we're getting ready to talk about the National Spotlight. So, guys, this past weekend was some big games this past weekend. So, who are your winners and who are your losers?
Go ahead and start it off. The biggest winner for me is obviously Michigan State. Get a top 10 victory. They've cemented the playoff hopes early. They really don't have a tough opponent until they play Ohio State later in the season, I believe, in November. For my biggest loser, I think it's obviously Arkansas. Brett Bielema, you come on the national stage, you get on Ohio State about their schedule, and then you lose to a MAC team at home, throw the ball 50 times. It's not Arkansas football. They're the biggest losers to me.
What'd you take, DeMarco?
The biggest winner for me, other than Michigan State over Oregon, would have to be Oklahoma over UT in a hostile Neyland environment. even I was watching on TV, and I'm talking about not with the volume turned all the way up, but that volume at Neyland, I could imagine only being there, but to overcome a 17-0 deficit and come out of Neyland with a win, that's a big win for Oklahoma in that program. And my biggest loser would have to be UT, actually, on the flip side, because on the flip side, you had all the home field advantage down in Neyland. You had everything going for you, and you kind of just didn't finish the game. And Bush Jones he's beginning to have that reputation of not being a coach who can finish late in games. So UT would definitely be my biggest loser this weekend.
Well, for me, my biggest winner actually is from a team out west. It's BYU. The way that they just been finding a way to win games, back-to-back Hail Marys with Tanner Magnum, knocking off Nebraska and then knocking off Boise State, a ranked Boise State team, and just right now finding a way to win, which is helping them out to maybe be that team from the other 5 conference that might could sneak in and steal a spot later on in the year, even though maybe their schedule might not be as tough. Well, they have a big game coming up next weekend coming up, but BYU is definitely my biggest winner. And my biggest loser, although they didn't lose, is just the way that they played Auburn. There's no way a team that has that type of caliber and firepower that Auburn supposedly have should struggle with a team like Jacksonville State, to where without probably a shanked punt, a horrible punt from the Jacksonville State punter, this game doesn't come up to what it is. And they fall from the number 16 to number 18. That's a big jump. That's a big drop, from even though just winning. They just, right now, Auburn looks all hype and a straight pretender and not really a contender. And that's not good going into conference play now, because you're not going to play no more cupcakes probably until you got one more homecoming game or something. But from now on, you're going to be playing a whole bunch of cupcakes. And the way that they're looking, they might not even maybe get 6 wins after this if they keep playing like that. So that's really my loser. So we got some storylines to head into that kind of happened over this past weekend too. DeMarcos, any other storylines, real big storylines that you just want to touch on?
One big thing that jumped out to me was the Florida coach, Jim McElwain.
Right.
The incident that happened on the sideline with Fred Taylor's son.
Right.
Apparently, after reading the reports, it was after I think it was an unsportsmanlike penalty that happened after a touchdown. And one thing for me that I would say is, in that situation, if you've ever played sports, I'm sure y'all both have played sports before. When you get a coach who yells at you on the sideline in front of everybody, it's kind of demeaning at the same time, but at the same time you get it. And you had players who stood up for their coach, and it was kind of divided. But I get it. You know, you have to teach discipline and everything. But in that situation, you on live television, you in front of 90,000 screaming fans. It's really not the time or the place to go off on a student, a college athlete. I could see if it was professional sports, but that was one big thing I took away from this weekend.
When you're at a nationally profiled school such as Florida, even though they're not as ranked or as prolific as they once were right now, they're still a big-time program where kids will want to go there and you know, one day go to the league. No one really wants to feel all that from a coach. Like, he just have to understand this isn't Colorado State anymore. Sometimes you have to find other ways to discipline your players. That's one big take that I really just got from storylines. What about you, Steve?
One of the storylines I wanted to bring up personally was the Ohio State quarterback situation. After week 1, big win over Virginia Tech, we thought Cardale Jones had basically cemented his status as starting quarterback. 4 drives, unproductive against Hawaii. Coach Urban Meyer instantly brings in JT Barrett, and it's kind of mixed results. So I think they're still trying to figure out who's going to be their quarterback. And the real question is, can you keep playing them both? Cardale 3 series, JT 3 series, and just go from there? Maybe. They're arguably the most talented team. They got some of their playmakers back. It'd still be interesting that we're going to go into week 3 of the season, and they still don't know who their quarterback is.
Yeah, but I say they can kind of still do that just because of the schedule. I mean, for the next 5 to 7 weeks right now, up until they play Michigan State, they're like favored by at least 3 or 4 touchdowns in every game. You can kind of still afford that, but you I do agree with you. You do need to find a way to go ahead and cement this starting role. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be JT or is it going to be Cardale? Because honestly, I feel like if you was going to still keep going back and forth between quarterbacks, you might as well could have just told Braxton, you know what, hey, don't even worry about going to slot, come back, be our starting quarterback. Those guys could have sat and waited for another year or two or whatever, because, eventually you don't want this to keep going on back and forth, because then this might just divide their team, and it's not what you want from the national champions. You need somebody to just say, hey, this is my spot, I'm going to keep it. You just can't have this problem going into, honestly, the rest of the season. It really doesn't matter who they play. I know they're big favorites for anybody that they play, and they're very talented, but you just don't want that reoccurring problem if, you go 3 for 7 and a pick, I'm going to take you out and put another guy in. That can, strike down the quarterback's confidence and make them say, you know what, maybe I don't need to play at all.
But to comment on that, it seems like after last season, everybody on the outside of Columbus kind of anointed Cardale Jones as a starting quarterback.
Right.
So when you as a coach, when you as a coach open the competition back up, when it's kind of already been closed in the national media, it kind of creates that natural divide. And I think, especially after watching the Virginia Tech game, I feel like that Ohio State is still searching for their identity on offense right now. Because if you look at how they finished last season, it was primarily in the run game with Ezekiel Elliott and their committee of backs.
Right.
So I feel like they need to get back to that, just pounding, go back to the ground game, go back to a more pro-style game, and then they'll figure out no matter who's lined up. When you got that offensive line, that veteran offensive line, and then you have the backs that you have, I mean, you can't really go wrong. And then you lean on the number one defense in the nation. So
I kind of agree with that, but with that team having so many weapons, it's only one football out there. So yes, it's bad that right now maybe they don't have the identity. Yes, they want to spread it around, toss it. That's kind of Urban Meyer football, and he likes to run it too. But, if you constantly run it with the running backs, then after a while, Braxton Miller's gonna be like, man, when I'm gonna get the ball. Some of the receivers gonna be like, when I'm gonna get this ball. Constant read option. But then, of course, like if we were just chunking it down the field, play after play, Zeke's gonna be like, man, what happened to my 200 rushing yard games? So it's kind of, it's a good but a bad thing that they got going on right now, that they have this challenge. But somewhere down along the line, they need to go ahead and fix the identity, whether they want to run the ball out, whether they want to pass it, or find some type of way to be balanced. But it's going to be so hard. I keep referring back to the schedule, but it's going to be hard to do to really just find your identity and balance when if by halftime you're already up by 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, you're going to sit your starters and your second string guys. You're going to start bringing your second and third string, maybe even 4th string guys in the game just to get them some experience.
But doesn't that look negatively down on you if you, as the number one team in the nation, against quote unquote cupcake schedule, can't get consistent play from your quarterbacks? Doesn't that make you look kind of bad if you're in a quarterback controversy in the middle? It's not the beginning it's not the middle of the season, but
right.
It might as well be because you're about to get into conference play. So if you're not able to establish consistency from your offense and your starting quarterback, and you're still at the point where you as a national championship favorite haven't even established your starting quarterback week to week, then you have a problem. There's a problem in Columbus.
I'll say this about Urban Meyer. If there's one guy that we should trust to handle this situation, it's Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, and Chris Lee. And I think either one of these guys, you put them in as starting quarterback, they're probably the favorite to win the Heisman, if not in the top 3 or so. So they'll get it figured out sooner or later. I personally will probably go with Cardale just because he won the 3 biggest games back to back to back. And it was all about Zeke, but at the same time, Cardale, he was efficient in the run game. He really took the top over the defense. So now they got the players back. Dontre Wilson, favorite of mine from Texas, he's back. A couple other guys, Joey Bosa, best player in the country, is back. So they'll figure it all out soon.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Oh, God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome home, man.
All right, so week 3 is coming up in the college football season. Now, Cupcake Saturday is out the way. Some people, some teams have finally gotten to conference games. Now, the test is starting to really come. Now we're about to see if some of these teams are really for real, are they contenders or pretenders. First game up, Georgia Tech against Notre Dame. ACC matchup. Georgia Tech, of course, triple option. They've been putting up points and running all up and down on people. Notre Dame right now, luck or lack thereof luck, losing starting running back, starting quarterback. What's your guys' take on this? Who's an X factor? What might be surprising that might catch your eye in this game?
I'll go ahead and start that one off simply because I guess I'm the only Georgia Tech dark horse man over here. Me personally with Georgia Tech, it's just something about them. They're the Yellow Jackets, and their name has been buzzing around. And as I'm looking at the box, scores and seeing how many points they're putting up in that triple option, the sky's the limit with their offense. I mean, no matter what defense you bring, outside of the ACC, who's of course familiar with Georgia Tech, it's kind of hard to stop it. They're putting up over 500 yards rushing, and they have a quarterback who can throw the ball. So I'm just saying, and they have a quality defense, but that's going to be tested as they get in the ACC play. The ACC is not the best defensively, but if I'm picking anybody to come out of the ACC, it's definitely Georgia Tech. And
unlike my friend DeMarco here, I'm kind of in a wait-and-see mode with Georgia Tech. Only played, I believe, Alcorn and Tulane, so they've been beating up on some people. But I do love Justin Thomas, Prattville native. Love Prattville High when I was in high school following them. So he's a good player, dynamic. Well, the key thing I think is going to be Deshaun Kaiser. At first, everybody's only going to talk about the bomb he threw at the end of the game, but when those first couple of series he was in, he was kind of shaky. Chip Kelly was a little conservative, but he's a highly recruited recruit, 4-star recruit, and Chip Kelly's very high on him. So I'm really interested to see how he does. And C.J. Fuller, he looked dynamic against Virginia. 2 50-yard bombs. He has elite speed. So I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be important as well, too.
Yeah, I believe Brian Kelly is going to find a way to give Fuller the ball, give him as many touches as he can to help out his young quarterback. I guess the best thing about this for the young quarterback is that it's not in Atlanta. They're going to be up there in South Bend with the home crowd, the hitting the sign, Golden Domes. It's an early game, but in that stadium, he might have a little help. They're gonna make sure that he is under control, not rattled. Georgia Tech, yes, that is a good defense, but like we stated, they haven't really this is gonna be really their real first test. Tulane and Alcorn State. Hey, we could probably go out there and go beat those guys real quick. No disrespect to anyone who's a fan or goes there, but. Yes, Fuller is my X factor for me. If they can just find a way to keep giving him touches, honestly, I feel like Notre Dame, if they want to win this game, they kind of almost have to play like Georgia Tech, control the ball, keep Georgia Tech offense on the sideline. That's kind of weird to say for a running team, but you don't want those guys out there going fullback dive, keep, pitch, quarterback keep. That's going to be kind of a struggle because it doesn't matter how often or how much you prepare for a triple option. It's just in certain points of the game, someone's going to mess up on their assignment, and the one time that they mess up, that's when maybe Georgia Tech can just blow open. Justin Thomas might run down the sideline for 50, 60 yards and score a touchdown. So the Notre Dame defense really has to help out too and try to shut down Georgia Tech to make this game at least close and competitive. So what's your guys' pick? Who you going with?
Well, I'm gonna go with Georgia Tech. It's simply based off what you said about them not having the home field advantage. I feel like their offense is the perfect counter for a home field advantage because they play. Let's be honest, they play a boring offense. They're gonna pound it. They're gonna wear down not only the defense, they're gonna wear down the crowd because the crowd's not gonna be interested in what they're doing, but they're gonna be on the field the majority of the time.
Right.
They hold on to the football. And I don't think with a quick turnaround for for Notre Dame's quarterback, I don't think he'll be able on this big stage to maintain his 15 seconds of fame that he did with that game-winning touchdown pass. So I'm just gonna go with Georgia Tech, just because I got to maintain my top 4 pick.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I'm buying in on Kaiser. I have him winning with a late field goal. I think Jalen Smith and those guys on Notre Dame's defense will be able to get enough stops on Georgia Tech to where the point where they don't have to trust Kaiser to win the game. Right. C.J. Prosise, he looks good running the ball against Virginia. So I think Notre Dame's going to sneak one out. Luck of the Irish once again.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like if Notre Dame was on the road, I would probably lean more to Georgia Tech. It's going to be a close game. No, Georgia Tech is not going to score 50, 60 points. I think Notre Dame will find a way to pull this one off. It's just somehow, some way, that young guy is going to pull out something, and Notre Dame is going to win, and Georgia Tech is going to fall, and Notre Dame goes 3-0. That's what I think is going on.
I'll be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy today. I'll be it.
All right, next up in the SEC, we got previously top 10 ranked Auburn, which is dropped down to 18, going into Death Valley, taking on LSU. Honestly, guys, I don't think this one's going to be close. I know Auburn still has a pretty good team, but I just don't see when you struggle that bad against an FCS team in Jacksonville State, I don't see how you can get ready for a guy like Leonard Fournette. I think he's gonna go for 200 yards on him.
I think this game's gonna be close, but only because Les Miles lets the game be close. They jumped up 21-6 on Mississippi State, and they just stopped throwing the ball. They stopped letting Brandon Harris make plays, and they went conservative, almost lost because of it. I think Fournette will have a big game. There's questionable if Carl Lawson, Auburn's defensive end, it's questionable if he's going to be healthy at 100%, and he's going to need to be what LSU's offensive line. I just really think it comes down, do you trust Brandon Harris to make plays? Do you let him stretch the ball? He made plays. They had a couple touchdowns called back against Mississippi State, so maybe that's why they got conservative. But if they only get a 2-touchdown lead on Gus Malzahn and that offense, that won't be enough. So they'll have to be aggressive. I'm going to go with LSU with my pick, 27-17. But if Les Miles goes conservative like he did in the second half, I think Auburn will be able to get them, even in Death Valley.
I'm gonna go with LSU too. I think they're gonna win by 2 touchdowns. I say 24. I say 31-17. Just because now Auburn will hang in there the first quarter because Will Muschamp will have that defense ready for Fournette. He might struggle for maybe like the first quarter. He might just pop off for maybe 2, 3, 5 yards. I feel like eventually, they're gonna keep giving him that ball. He's gonna wear down their defense. Will Muschamp has always and will have a good defense, but I think he's just going to wear down their defense. Brandon Harris, I feel like he'll pop off a couple big plays to Dupree, get him open, get him some touches, get him involved in the game. I just don't think that Auburn is not who we thought they were. I just don't have any more belief in them. The way they've been struggling the first 2 weeks, even against Louisville, they didn't even look. The offense didn't look that good. The defense helped them, but at certain points of the time, the defense can only help you so much. And when you got a team that's as good and as poised as LSU, I think they get the job done. Plus, they remember what happened to them last year. Brandon Harris got embarrassed down there in Auburn. They remember. So this is definitely a big revenge game, and that's why I think LSU is really just going to take it to Auburn, 31-17.
Yeah, like you said, LSU. I mean, they got the perfect formula. They got a good running back. They're at home in Death Valley. I mean, it's not a lot. You got the Mad Hatter, Les Miles.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's not a lot that could go wrong for LSU in this game. I don't see Brandon Harris. He doesn't have to do a lot. All he has to do is turn around and hand it to Leonard Fournette. I see Leonard Fournette having at least 35 touches in this game, at least 35 touches. And I'm gonna take LSU 24-10 in this game.
So how many trick plays I think Les Miles gonna run?
I think they'll bust out one early in the game.
Block a punt.
Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, guys, I feel like this is the biggest game out of all of them. Down in Tuscaloosa, Ole Miss, Alabama, the rematch. Everyone remembers Bo Wallace, good Bo Wallace, throwing it down the sideline and Jalen Walton giving them the 23-17 win, and Santez Golden intercepting Blake Sims, and how the whole state of Mississippi just went crazy. But, this year the game's in Tuscaloosa. So how you think this is going to go this year?
I'll start that one off, and simply on the just based off what happened last week between the Blue Raiders and Bama, should be the blueprint to the way that Ole Miss can and will win this game this weekend. And it's simply the quarterback position. Ever since A.J. McCarron graduated and went on to the NFL, Alabama hasn't been able to establish a consistent quarterback, and they've had to lean on their running game, and it's kind of made them one-dimensional. And because of we're lucky to have Amari Cooper, who is an outstanding receiver, but they don't have that luxury anymore. All they have to lean on is pretty much Derrick Henry and Coker, their quarterback. And I don't think he can sustain. He hasn't been consistent enough and good enough, in my opinion, because he's played 2 big stage games already. At Ole Miss can do a little bit more. And now I'm going to make a bold prediction and say they'll put up 30 points in Tuscaloosa.
Wow.
I mean, Auburn did it last year.
That's true.
But I think with this game, 2 questions going to get answered. First off is how good is Ole Miss? You play Fresno State, UT Martin. Yeah, you put up 70 points. It's always impressive, but this is still Fresno State and UT Martin. Chad Kelly, transfer from Clemson, he's always been known for his talent and his kind of questionable rap lyrics when he's trying to be a rapper. But his talent's obvious, but I'm not sold all the way yet on Ole Miss. I think the blueprint for beating Ole Miss, what we saw from our teams in Arkansas, LSU last year, line up in the eye, just give the ball to Derrick Henry and just smash those smaller linebackers in the middle. And I think if Lane Kiffin trusts Derrick Henry, just let him do him. We saw a couple times last year where he took the ball away. He tried to air it out with Amari Cooper. But I think if they're just consistent with the run game, I think they'll do enough to beat Ole Miss. And I think the other question that's going to get answered is, who's Alabama's quarterback? Jake Coker, he looked pretty good against Wisconsin. Looks like he regressed against MTSU. That gave Cooper Bateman a little more time. Right. So it'll be interesting to see who's the main quarterback. Bateman gives them a little bit more athletically. I think Coker probably understands the offense a little bit more. So those 2 questions will be answered. I'm going to go with Alabama. Nick Saban doesn't lose to teams 2 times in a row often. Give me Alabama 24, Ole Miss 17.
Man, this one is kind of tough for me because I really do like Ole Miss. I feel like their team is there, but I don't know if they're really there yet. Just because that defensive line is undersized for an SEC defensive line. And as you know, to kind of respond back to what you're saying with after A.J. McCarron in the quarterback spot, but before A.J. McCarron, when they had John Parker Wilson, Greg McElroy, like who were those guys? They didn't do much either, but they had guys in the backfield just to hand it off. It's back to old school Alabama football. That's what they were. They were ground and pound. We're gonna run up and down. Let's be more physical than you. Let's just pound it, ground it. Yes, they had the luxury of Amari Cooper there for 3-4 years, A.J. McCarron, but that was just basically a phase. Let's go back to what you do, run the ball, and we're also going to see like how is Chad Kelly, is he the real deal? Because now he's really going to face a true defense. Is he going to try Cyrus Jones? Can Jalen Walton and the rest of the running back committee, can they get something going against that defensive line? Can they find a way to kind of control the ball and get their tempo? They're going to play at their tempo, go up speed, go up tempo. Don't try to slow it down and play into Bama's game, because if you do, it's going to be a long night down there in Tuscaloosa, and the crowd is going to play a big factor in there. Ole Miss has to find a way to knock that crowd out and keep them out. Don't give away turnovers. Don't make too many penalties, because it's going to get loud. I went down there to Tuscaloosa when we played them, and even though it's just a little old MT, that stadium was rocking. It was loud. It was hard to hear. So I'm pretty sure if Meach is sitting in the stadium dealing with that crowd noise, I know it must be hard for the players. I think Nick Saban's going to get it done. It hurts me because I really like Ole Miss. I just don't see how they can go down there and actually beat them. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. But if it does come down to special teams, I'm leaning towards Ole Miss, but I don't think it would go that way. So I say Bama wins it. I honestly think they hold Ole Miss under 17 points. I think it's going to be 24-13 Alabama.
Big thing to keep an eye on is starting some cornerback T. Shepard for Ole Miss is out.
Right.
This guy they brought in from JUCO that everybody's really high on. I see him projected as like a first or second round pick. So for Jay Coker, whoever's starting quarterback, I think they might try whoever has his spot, see if they can get Robert Foster or Calvin Ridley some touches early.
Right. One more X factor probably for Ole Miss, Evan Ingram. He has to most times he'll probably be matched up against Reggie Ragland. Last Saturday at times, Ragland did struggle in space against all wide receivers in the slot and some running backs that kind of flexed out. If Ingram can find a way to break open that middle and that seam, because I feel like that's who Chad Kelly is really going to lean into the passing game, because Cyrus Jones got one half of the field already locked up. I don't see them even. They might try him, but
they're going to try him. He's going to give up some plays.
They'll be bad. That might work in their favor. It might not. But Evan Ingram, if he can find a way to break open, that might help Ole Miss. But I still think Bama will pull it off. So we're down to the finale. It's time to name the top six. Who's your top six this week?
Going into this week, number one, I still got The Ohio State University, beat Virginia Tech, still probably on paper the most talented team in the country. Number two, Michigan State. They have the best win, hand down. They look really good in East Lansing. So that's going to be really interesting. And since they beat Oregon, I think they might be able to afford a loss to Ohio State and still sneak in as that number 4 seed, potentially. Number three, still have TCU. I like them over Baylor right now. Baylor's been giving up a lot of points. Even though it's even the first half and they got control of games, Lamar, SMU put up a lot of points on them. The key thing to watch for TCU is the injuries on defense. They lost a linebacker, and I think they lost a safety, so they can't really lose too many more players. Number four, it's kind of the fact that I'm going with Alabama. Wisconsin, they're still a top 25 team, so that's a good win. Still have Nick Saban. And my two on the outside looking in, I'm going with the LA schools, USC, UCLA. Touched on UCLA earlier. I think they have one of the best rosters in the nation. It's just all on Josh Rosen. Kind of similar with USC. Cody Kessler had one of the better seasons in the country. We really didn't talk about him enough, and we should have. Got Adoree Jackson. He's arguably the most electric player in the country. Sewell Cravens, Juju Smith. They have a wealth of playmakers.
Well, my top six, I'm going, of course, number one would be Ohio State. Until they lose or until they get into a big game, that big game with Michigan State, I don't see why they should drop from number one. Number two, I got Alabama at number two. I still take that quality win over Wisconsin. I think that's a quality win. And, of course, with them being in arguably the best conference in the nation, they have week after week, chance after chance to get quality wins after quality wins to keep their resume there as long as they don't lose. Number three, I got Michigan State. That's a big win for them to beat Oregon, because like you said, that kind of does give them leeway now to, even if they do lose to Ohio State, they have that one quality win where if TCU or Baylor loses one or two games,
they're out.
They're out. I mean, the Big 12 is not as strong. Number four, I have TCU. I dropped them back just because they just haven't really done anything yet. Honestly, their next two biggest matchups probably isn't until they battle Oklahoma and Baylor to see how real they are. My two bubble teams, at number five, I have USC. Six, I have at Baylor. I just really put them at six because I don't see any other team after them that really just caught my eye. I don't like their defense at all. Honestly, I feel like they might lose the game before they even battle TCU and already be out just because their defense just gives up way too many points. But just to put them at a six, it's Baylor.
Well, my top six might look a little different. I see I've been different this time. But number one, I got Ohio State for the same reasons you have them. On paper, they're the best team in the nation. And I think, honestly, Urban Meyer's a genius because he's holding out his player. I think he's rolled out his schedule, and he's seen that they don't have the strongest schedule in the country, but they're the number one team. And until they show a chink in the armor, they're going to continue to they're going to continue to play this little quarterback roulette. They're going to continue to pull their starters early and stay fresh until they do come upon a more seasoned opponent. And for that reason, I have them at number one. Number two, I have TCU. I think TCU and Ohio State will stay up top as the number two teams in the nation until TCU ends up losing the game with a more fragile defense, like you said. At number 3, I actually have USC at number 3, simply because I think people, like you said, are sleeping on USC right now, which is a very good thing for them. I feel like they're a very motivated team right now. And I feel like Cody Kessler can carry them all the way into the college football playoff. Even at the beginning of the season, it's obvious that Arizona State wasn't supposed to be where they were. It's obvious that Oregon isn't as strong as they used to be. Stanford's not as strong as they used to be, and I feel like this is USC's year to finally reclaim their position at the top of the Pac-12. And at number 4, I have Alabama. And y'all know I'm kind of low on Alabama right now, simply because they had a kind of weak showing against MTSU, and they had a weak showing against Alabama, who is a top 25 school right now. But at the same time, they're not in a position to challenge. They shouldn't be challenging Alabama the way they challenged Alabama. My bubble team, it's with Alabama, the only thing is it's going to be Jake Coker. Like, he's going to be the X factor. He's going to be either they're going to win by Jake Coker or they're going to die by Jake Coker. So I had him at number 4 right up under USC. My dark horses, right now I have Michigan State and Baylor. Michigan State at number 5, Baylor at number 6. Michigan State for the very reason that they upset Oregon the other night. And Connor Cook, my Heisman dark horse. I feel like he can lead them through the Big Ten. Even if, like you said, they get a early loss, they still had that quality win over Oregon to put on their resume. And I have Baylor just for the reason you said. There's really no other teams, but if they continue to show their weakness on defense, then I see Georgia Tech sneaking in at number 6 and climbing up the polls.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's kind of interesting that besides you, DeMarco, that none of us really has mentioned an ACC team. Is it safe to say that they're going to be the conference that's going to be left out this year, even though the Big 12 doesn't have a conference championship game, but they do? Is it just safe to say that they're going to be the conference that gets left out this year?
I wouldn't say it's safe to say. It's just there are a lot of questions about each team. I think they have 4, if you want to count Notre Dame as a quote-unquote ACC team.
Yeah.
They got 4 teams that are kind of on their fringe, but you don't know. Clemson, you have Deshaun Watson, great offense, but you're replacing a lot of pieces from the number 1 defense in the country from last year.
Right.
And can Deshaun Watson make it through the whole season?
Right.
Notre Dame, lose your starting quarterback, starting running back. So starting a true freshman quarterback, we'll have to see. Florida State, you don't know if you're going to get the game manager Golson that got him to the national championship, or the more dynamic Golson that was also had turnover problems.
Right.
So that's another thing. And then just after that, and then you also have Georgia Tech, and it's just a wonder, can that triple option, can you go 11-1, well 12-1 since you have a conference championship game? Can you go 12 running that triple option, knowing that once you get down a couple possessions, you're going to trust Justin Thomas to throw the ball. So I'm not sure. All of them have a lot of great strengths, but they also have a lot of weaknesses that we have to see. They have to be answered before I just had to put any of them in my top 6.
But that's all the time that we have for tonight and this week. We thank you for joining us here on the Raider Report. Once again, I am Anthony Sanders. Along here with me, DeMarco Moore and Steven Johnson. And always, be warm, stay safe, and be true.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.